Hi, welcome back to Real Auto Reports. I'm Jonathan McGrew, and today we have the real video of the 2013 Fiat 500. It's a pretty sharp little car. It's not for everybody, but it does compete with the Mini Cooper. So we want to give you all the details that you need to know about this special small car. However, this isn't just any Fiat 500. This is the turbo model. So that's going to pack a little bit extra punch. So let's check it out. Hi, welcome back. So we are in the 2013 Fiat 500 Turbo, as we mentioned earlier in the opening. And we're going to take the in-depth look here at this car and tell you everything you need to know. So let's hit the road and see what this car's got. All right, so the first thing you need to know about this car is basically the price. The base Fiat 500 comes in right about $16,000. The base Fiat 500 Turbo, which is going to have your turbo motor in it, of course, is about $19,500. So that's a significant lift, $3,500 for the turbo base. 500 Turbo as equipped, this car is $22,350. So I just had to check my little sheet there real quick to make sure that we give you the right information. So all in all, you can see that the Fiat 500 Turbo, like we're in today, is going to run you, with all of the great options that this car has, about $22,000. So that's actually really good value for the performance. And if you want to step up to the Abarth, you're probably going to be closer to $25,000, $26,000 with the same option group that this has. So now that we've got price out of the way, let's talk about the driving experience in this Fiat 500 Turbo. The first thing that we have to talk about is the 1.4 liter multi-air with the turbocharger. This is going to be the same motor that you find, at least in its base form, the same motor in the Abarth, but it's a little bit detuned. In the Fiat 500 Turbo, you're going to get 135 horsepower. So that is in comparison to the 160 horsepower of the Abarth. So you can see there that there is a big difference. Now, how does that compare to the regular Fiat 500? Well, the regular Fiat 500 has 101 horsepower in the naturally aspirated 1.4 liter multi-air. So that really does show you that you're gaining quite a bit with the uplift of the Fiat 500 Turbo model. Now, what you're not getting is the raw performance of the Fiat 500 Abarth. So this is really what we like to call the sweet spot. The 500 Turbo represents a livable car in the city and something that gives you the performance that you might expect from a little zippy car. And so this really is your sporty Fiat 500 without being over the top. So we like the positioning of it a lot. Getting back to the driving experience, the Fiat 500 Turbo, you can see we use this road a lot of times. This road is bumpy. It's got breaks in the concrete pavement, expansion gaps. And it's actually not shaking the camera around too much. It's because the Fiat 500 Turbo does not have the stiff and rigid Abarth sports suspension, but it's still got a nice driving experience where you feel like you can get a little aggressive out in the curves, you can get spirited with your driving, and you're not going to find yourself overdoing it with a lot of unfortunate spinning around in circles. From the driving and the steering perspective, the steering is well weighted. It's got a good center feel. You've got steering wheel controls on the back for the radio functions, just like any of the Chrysler vehicles you might be used to, or Jeep. So those are going to be very familiar if you're familiar with the Chrysler brand. The steering wheel controls here for the audio or the Bluetooth is great. And then you also have your cruise control, which is nice to have in a small car like this. We really like the cruise control, which you don't always find in some of the city cars. So having a Fiat 500 that is a city car and having the cruise control right here and available for use is an excellent feature. We also like the seating position in this car. It's comfortable for daily driving. It is a little more upright and vertical than you might be used to if you are used to driving a Mini Cooper. Mini Coopers are much more low slung in their driving position, more of a what I would call a sports car, race car kind of seating position. Whereas the Fiat 500 is a blend. It's going to give you that touring feel, but still have the aspects of a sporty car. So again, it is this just right. Think of the Three Bears. It's this just right kind of positioning, and we like that. It's different out on the market. Some other things that we need to discuss real quick here on the Fiat 500 Turbo is the general features that it comes with. You get Blue and Me, which is their Bluetooth connectivity system through the radio. You also have satellite radio in our car as tested. This car also has the leather option group with the what is really a nylon insert here in a contrasting color. We also have the heated seats, which are primo here in Colorado in the winter time, and climate control. And the climate control is a really nice feature because it's a digital climate control, which is a little different than some of the other Chrysler Group vehicles. Like the Jeeps have the dial that has the numbers on it and it's climate control. But this one's digital, and it's got the digital fan speed, and that kind of gives you a sense that they've put a lot of thought and uplifted the perspective that people are going to have when they get into this car. It's going to feel a lot more technology oriented. You also have a really great gauge cluster with the speedo on the outside of the circle, the tachometer for the manual transmission we have here on the inside of the circle, and then in the very center you have your time, digital speedometer, range, temperature, all of those things, gas gauge, and it's a nice, easy to read package in a nice orange digital color, and it's actually amazing how much they've packed in there, including the trip computer that'll show you range, average speed, all the things that you're pretty much used to in most of the modern cars. All right, so now we have to talk about some gripes that we have with the car, because no review is complete without a gripe. This is a gripe. It won't be quiet either. Not until I refasten the seatbelt. Yep. Okay, so why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem in that if you take off your seatbelt, like I do, as you're rolling up to your white gate, I have a white picket fence in front of my house, and you're going to open the gate, it will scream at you like that until you refasten your seatbelt. That means I can set the parking brake, get out of the car, go up to the gate, open it, close it, come back and get in the car, and that seatbelt buzzer is still going off, which it's just an annoyance. It's just one of those things we really honed in on that we didn't like. Something else that is a little interesting about this car is the door lock features. So you'll notice there's no door lock button in this car. You press in on the handle to lock it, you get the little red display on the chrome handle. However, there is no way that we have found to lock this car without the key. You have to have the key fob or turn the key in the door. So a lot of people are used to running out to their car because they realize they left it unlocked. You may have left your keys in the house on the table, but you run out, you hit the button, you shut the door, and you run inside. Can't do that in this car. So just something else that's kind of interesting. It's also hard for people to find the door locks because they're so integrated into the design of the car. Not really an issue per se, it's just something we've noticed. Otherwise, great room in this car, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Before we get to the room of the car, we wanted to talk about just who buys one of these cars. And this is really an inner city commuter car, but it's capable of going out on the freeway. So the thing that you want to know is how economical, how valued is this car in town? Like, is it going to cost a lot at the pump because it's a turbo, or is it actually pretty economical to run? And what we'll tell you is that the turbo actually doesn't cost you a lot in the MPG segment. We're just pulling up to a light here, so I'll just pull this up. This car will get 28 miles per gallon in town, 34 out on the highway, and 31 combined as rated by the EPA. Now, the regular Fiat 500 Turbo will get 31 in town and 40 out on the freeway. So you're really only giving up 3 miles per gallon in town and 6 miles per gallon out on the freeway to jump up to the Turbo, and that's not bad. And if you want to jump up to the Abarth, you actually get the same gas mileage as this Turbo. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's rated right in line there. Now, what about 0 to 60 time? What about the fun? Well, the regular Fiat 500 with its 101 horsepower will go 0 to 60 in about 9.9 seconds is what tests are showing. The Abarth, we're clocking in right about 6.9 is what people are saying. And then this Fiat 500 Turbo, they say does it in about 7.5 seconds, right about there. And of course, that's going to vary based on altitude or, the driver, especially in a manual transmission. But those are pretty good performance numbers, and you don't lose a lot of the gas mileage when you jump up here to the 500 Turbo. So we like that. Something else that is just something I want to highlight, the clutch on this car is fantastic. If you like driving a manual transmission, this is a small car, but it's got a clutch that has a good medium weight to it. There's a lot of the cars that are this size that the clutch you almost can't feel. In fact, I own a Wrangler Rubicon, and its manual transmission clutch is super light, and it's interesting to get into a sporty car like this and have a clutch that has a good weight. You feel like you know where it's engaging, where the uptake is in the release point. And the throws in the gearbox are great too. So Fiat's done an excellent job with this manual transmission. Finally, we want to talk about the car's usability in terms of the trunk space and all of that. What is really nice with the Fiat 500 is that, and this goes for any of the Fiat 500s, you can get a 24-inch suitcase in the back on its side and shut the trunk lid, and it'll go. Took it to the airport, picked somebody up, it happened. The other thing is that you can fold the back seats down, so you gain a lot of interior room. What I know from experience in testing this car over the last week is that you can go to Costco and you can get a couple $100s worth of groceries in the trunk. You can also go to Home Depot and get stuff in the back, like 2 good-sized plant pots and a couple bags of potting soil, the good-sized bags. We got 3 of those in the trunk, then laid the seats down, put the pots in. Car's really usable. You can also get 3 or 4 people in here. I've had up to 3. 4 is a real pinch, and it's not going to be very comfortable, but you can do it. And if you just need to get down the street to dinner or to a concert or something, you're going to be able to park super easy in this car. And your passengers are going to complain probably about the back seat, but it's better than walking, right? So car's pretty usable, and we think Fiat has done an excellent job at really getting the proportions of the interior correct for such a small car. So that's the real review of the 2013 Fiat 500 Turbo. We think it's a pretty cool little car. It's great for in town. It drives well. It has a great exhaust note. It's right about $22,000, and it's going to get you some really good MPG in the city and out on the highway. This car is just under 40 miles per gallon out on the freeway, so it's going to keep your wallet safe at the pump. It's got great features like the Bluetooth and Me, or as they call it, the Blue and Me system inside for the voice recognition. It's a manual transmission in our test car, and it has a great clutch, one of the best we've driven of any of the manuals recently. We think it is a lot of fun out on the road, and we think you might agree if you're into small cars. So join us again for future reviews. I'm Jonathan McGrew for Real Auto Reports. We'll see you down the road.